Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I have to make this one quick today because I woke up pretty later than I usually do. My hair is a mess, as you can tell. I'm just gonna have to rush through where I want to. I'm gonna read 13 and 14 today of Exodus. The first one is called Consecration of the Firstborn. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into this. I'll save my commentary for the end, unless I see something that I want to add, really important that I want to make a mention of. Just to kind of remember, yesterday and the day before, we went through all the plagues. The Pharaoh has finally allowed the Israelites, the Hebrews, to Exodus. So let's get into this. The Lord said to Moses, "Consecrate to me every firstborn male. The first offspring of every womb amongst the Israelites belongs to me, whether human or animal." Moses said to the people, "Commemorate this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, because the Lord had brought you out of it with a mighty hand. Eat nothing containing yeast today in the mouth of Aviv, in the month of Aviv. I said mouth. In the month of Aviv, Aviv, you are leaving. When the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites, the land that He swore to your ancestors, He swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. You are to observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days, eat bread made without yeast, and on the seventh day, hold a festival to the Lord. Eat unleavened bread during those 7 days. Nothing with yeast in it is to be seen amongst you or among you, nor shall any yeast be seen anywhere within your borders. On that day, tell your son, I do this because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. This observance will be for you like a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead that this law of the Lord is to be on your lips. For the Lord brought you out of Egypt with this mighty hand. You must keep this ordinance at the appointment time year after year." So actually, there is something I want to say that's pretty interesting here. I know that in the end times, quote unquote, as far as the Antichrist is concerned, we're supposed to take some kind of mark on our right hand or our forehead, and it's mentioned here. Listen to this. Let me read that one more time. This observance will be for you like a sign on your hand or a reminder on your forehead. So I think that's kind of curious. But let's carry on. After the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you, as He promised an oath to you and your ancestors, you are to give the order. You are to give over the Lord to the Lord the first offspring of every womb. All the firstborn males of your livestock belong to the Lord. Redeem with a lamb every firstborn donkey. But if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem every firstborn among your sons. In days to come, when your sons ask you, "What does this mean?" say to him, "With a mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, when Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go because of God. The Lord killed the firstborn of both people and animals in Egypt. This is why I sacrificed to the Lord the first male offspring of every womb and redeemed each of my firstborn sons. And it will be like a sign on your hand and a symbol on your forehead that the Lord had brought us out of Egypt with His mighty hand." It says, crossing the sea. When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country. We haven't really heard much about the Philistines or Philistines or however you pronounce them up to this point. So it's interesting that they're coming up now. I know that they will be a pivotal part of, I want to say, David's story, David and Goliath. Okay. So when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them through the Philistine country, though that was shorter, for God said if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led His people around the desert road toward the Red Sea. The Israelites went up and out of Egypt ready for battle. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him because, whoa, really? Because Joseph had made the Israelites swear an oath. He had said, "God will surely come to your aid," and then sorry, I had to blow my nose there. Little jump cut. Let me read that one more time. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him because Joseph had made the Israelites swear an oath. He had said, "God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up with you from this place." After leaving Succoth, they camped at Etham on the edge of the desert. By day, the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or night. Neither the pillar or cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night left its place in front of the people. So that finishes chapter 13. Chapter 14, it doesn't have a title. It says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near it's P-I, so P or Pi, Pi Hahiroth, Hahiroth, Hahiroth. Interesting word. Okay, between Migdol and the sea. They are to encamp by the sea, directly opposite Baal Zephon. Now, I know Baal is an old god, if I'm not mistaken. Baal, Baal is an old god. Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. Here we go again. Here we go again. God taking away the free will of another person. So this is becoming a pretty common theme of God just messing with Pharaoh to prove a point. So, and he will pursue them, but I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all of his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So the Israelites did this. Well, that's kind of neither here nor there. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds about them and said, "What have we done? We have let the Israelites go and lost our services." So he had his chariot made ready, and he took his army with him. He took 600 of the best chariots, along with the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them as they camped by the sea near Pi-hahiroth, opposite Baal Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the hearts here we go again, harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go after them. And I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all of his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. And the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord, and when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots and his horsemen." Okay. That's great. All right, continuing on, it says, "Then the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved in front and stood behind them. Moved from in front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to one side and light to the other side, so neither went near the other all night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into a dry land. I actually saw a really, really, really interesting video at one point in time that explained this phenomenon and that it actually has the plausibility of happening due to the winds in the area, but I don't want to get into that here. I'll kind of save that until my official breakdown of Exodus in its entirety. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued them, and all of Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. During the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and the cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheel of the chariot so that they had difficulty driving. The Egyptians said, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing toward it, and the Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived, but the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. That day the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw Egyptians lying dead on the shore. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in Him and in Moses as His servant. So I'm going to stop right there. That ends chapter 14. So a pretty short video today. Really not a lot of commentary. This is something I've seen again in the Prince of Egypt movie. I've heard stories of as a child. And then, like I said, I watched that video that did a really, really, really great analysis on how this event could have happened. And I'm going to reference that video in the future video that I make going over all of Exodus. But I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I hope you all have a blessed weekend. Godspeed.